study,
and play come together on a Windows 11 PC.
And for a limited time, college students get
The best of both worlds.
Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. $0 commission does not apply to customers designated by Fidelity as a professional equity trader. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a service fee of $100. See details at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney Plus.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're gonna crack this case and prove we're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
You are... Gary the Snake. And your last name? The Snake.
Dream Team. And new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home.
You're clearly working at
Zootopia 2, now available on Disney Plus, rated PG.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Hey guys, today I'm interviewing my cat about his perfect bistro food. Percy, you seem to be a big Perfect Bistro fan. Care to comment? Totally. What do you like about it? You love the high-quality ingredients? And the delicious flavors, of course. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Listen to Percy, guys. Visit perfectbistro.com to try it for your cat.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individuals participating in the show. All persons described or mentioned in the podcast should be considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This podcast contains subject matter such as violence and graphic descriptions along with adult language, which may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
On July 24th, 2013, a woman is reported missing off the Appalachian Trail. She is not seen again for another 2 years when her body is found in her tent, located only 100 yards from the trail she left. What happened to her? Why could they not find her? Is there a mystery to be solved? Tonight we'll find out. You're listening to the Mysterious Brews podcast, and tonight we bring you the case of Geraldine Largay.
The searchers continue looking for this woman right here, 66-year-old Geraldine Largay, who's missing along a stretch of Maine's Appalachian Trail. Game wardens believe the missing woman spent Tuesday night inside of a trailside shelter with another hiker, but no one has seen or heard from her since. Today's search concentrated on an area behind Sugarloaf Mountain. WMTW News 8's Steve Minnick is there and has the latest.
Rangers in aircraft, wardens, and volunteers on foot spent a second straight day searching a roughly 25-square-mile section of the Appalachian Trail. The searchers convinced the missing woman somehow veered off the trail.
The Appalachian Trail has a pretty good communication system, actually. Everybody talks to one another, and everybody knows that she's missing and that nobody...
Welcome to a deep, dark, dank, moist basement somewhere in the bowels of Georgia. Well, ladies and gents, the rain is back. The rain is back. But good news, air conditioner's working. $350 later.
Nice. Saved much cheaper than mine, brother.
Yeah, but they tried to sell me on the fact that mine's 12 years old and it's on the back end of its life expectancy. And I'm like, no, it is not. No, it is not. I don't know where you get your little information from, but I'm riding this pony till she dies. Now, I understand that you're being a fine, upstanding service tech and salesman when you say you might want to be considering a new unit, but we ain't considering a new unit till it blows hot air forever. So,
we've actually had a very, mild June so far, which is wild. It's 60 degrees in the morning.
It's nice in the mornings. Actually, it was that day that we didn't have air. It wasn't that bad until later in the afternoon, and then when the day they came out, it was cool enough that the air hadn't ever cut on, so I had to run inside and bump it all the way down as low as it would go to get it to run. But, yeah, I mean, we have had the mild spring, but I got a feeling we're going to pay for it. We're going to pay dearly.
Yeah, it makes me worry about the future.
About the middle of July until about the middle of October scares me.
I know, man. October should not be that hot. I've been saying this for years. It's like October's supposed to be fall. Halloween, you're supposed to have a cardigan on, a light jacket.
A sweater vest.
Come on,
in color.
I shouldn't be sweating on Halloween. It's not right.
No, I agree with you. However, there was he's been out 2 years. So 3 years ago on Halloween, my son played his last football game of the season that year, his junior year, and
This episode is brought to you by Viore. For Father's Day, give him something built for wherever the day takes him. Viore's performance joggers, breathable polos, and travel-ready layers are made to move. From workouts to downtime, on the clock or off, these are the everyday staples he'll wear on repeat. Get 20% off your first order at Viore.com/Father's Day. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Expedia and Visit Scotland invite you to come step into centuries of history that await in Scotland. Castles steeped in legend, walk along cobblestone streets. Come share the warmth of stories passed down through generations. This is a place with a past that is fully present today and all yours to explore. Plan your Scottish escape today at expedia.com/Visit Scotland.
I froze to death. It was awful.
Death?
To death. Couldn't hear and almost died.
We don't need you freezing to death.
No new patrons to speak of, but we did get some love for the off the cuff. People love them, and especially that last one. Yeah, people love the spitballer episodes, especially when we're like midstream recording. We're like, well, hold on, we'll just Google it right now.
That's my whole research. That's my whole research strategy.
Yeah. I mean,
oh, you give me a whole week? Nah, man, I just need right now.
Yeah, it's like college paper. I give you 14 days to do it. I'm going to crack that thing open hour 12 of the last day.
Dude, I told you about when I transferred to North Georgia, right? And I tried to treat it like it was the other colleges I went to where I could just BS the night before and almost killed myself trying to finish this paper on Custer's Last Stand. And took me all night and all day. Like my class went until 11. I got it done like at 10:30 in the morning and went to class with no sleep. And then I got it back. I was like, that's a pretty good paper. And I got it back. I didn't get a good grade on it. And I was like, what the hell? And on top of it, it says, you make a compelling argument, but it's hard to take you seriously when on page 4 you begin to refer to General Custer as General Custard.
Spell check
let me down, bro.
That's the one drawback for spell check. If you misspell it to an actual word, it's not going to catch it.
No, it's like, you're good, bro.
Yeah.
You keep talking, you're fine.
You keep hammering away, sport.
We believe in you.
That's right. All right, so yesterday I messaged Coach about our case today, and there is some mystery in it. However, it is quasi-solved, but it's more missing 411. And I know that he got a lot of hate from his interview on Joe Rogan, David Paulides. But
yeah, there's like YouTube page. Maybe I'm just seeing them now because people are sharing them, but there's like YouTube pages dedicated to disproving him and saying that's all bullshit. And he only uses circumstantial evidence and he don't tell the whole story and this, that, and the other. And
yeah, that one guy you sent me the video of, he always shits on him. And when he shits on him, he does it fairly politely with research. He doesn't just say, well, my opinion is he ain't doing it. I mean, he backs up some of his claims.
Yeah.
But there's still a component of that that's all jacked up. I mean, they can't explain away everything. And I think that's what people who have read Paulides' books will agree upon. So, but
yeah, they say that he's got like a bad gambling problem and he's been let go of a bunch of police forces and all kinds of stuff. But say what you want. Yes, he should use better research and give out actual facts if he doesn't. But the bottom line is he's keeping these type of cases in the media.
Right. And that's the biggest thing is some of these cases you've never heard of. And so he makes sure that they're constantly in the news.
Right.
So, but I do know he lost his son to suicide a couple of years ago.
He did.
Yeah. And so I'm not saying he gets a hall pass for that, for bad research, but the man's been through a lot. And I'm sure he's been probably discredited by, or some campaigns by the National Park Service to discredit him too. So,
well, it don't matter. I mean, just like Taylor Swift said, man, haters gonna hate.
That's right. She did.
Made quite a good living off of it too.
She did. So, if I'm just warning you, you were not paying attention, but if you look up and I am all froze up, we're still recording. It's just this computer is running on fumes right now. I guess I got too much stuff open.
I'm paying attention.
But yeah, when you were doing your opening, it looked like I was high as a kite. It froze like mid blink.
Oh no, that's never good.
No, it ain't, sir. No, it ain't. All right, so let's get into it, boys and girls. Geraldine Largay, born Geraldine Burnett, came from a modest upbringing in Tampa, Florida. She had a warm smile that drew people in, and she loved to learn, which she attributed to keeping her curious. She was a Girl Scout. She played the ukulele by the campfire, leading sing-alongs with her friends during Girl Scout camps. And then after high school, she pursued a degree in nursing and went to the one, the only Grady Hospital in Atlanta.
Ugh.
To train. So yeah, she went to the
I'm
doldrum.
sorry, but
If you can nurse at Grady, you can nurse anywhere.
Yeah, if you're from Georgia, you know that it doesn't have the best reputation. It just don't.
That's where some people just go with a stub toe and wind up dying.
Yeah.
So it was during her last year at Grady that she would enlist in the Air Force, probably a smart move on her part. And she would ultimately be stationed in California, where she met the one George Largay, who was a hospital administrator. Now, those that know George stated that he fell head over heels in love with Geraldine the first time he saw her. And there is another key misspelling. I spelt her as here, and it didn't catch it.
There you go. Told you.
Yeah. Just learning on the fly. So the couple would marry, and as George pursued his career in marketing, Geraldine, or as she is known to her friends as Jerry, would find nursing jobs in every town they moved to, and that's how we will refer to her moving forward. People who knew them always said they were a loving couple who are always full of love and warmth. Jerry's thirst for adventure and her drive to set goals didn't fully surface until later in life after her children were grown. She trained for and completed the country music half marathon in Nashville, but her connection to the outdoors wasn't anything new. She had always been drawn to the wilderness, the trees, the open air, and the creatures that found their homes in the wilderness. After that marathon, she kept pushing herself. And the next great aspiration would be the Appalachian Trail. She prepared by reading everything she could get her hands on, picked seasoned hikers' brains, analyzed her gear down to the gram, and she and her hiking partner, Jane Lee, started attending training camps to hone their skills and their determination. So fast forward to April 22nd, 2013, Jerry, who was then 66, and Jane made their way to Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, ready to take on the Appalachian Trail. They were not what you would call seasoned mountaineers by any stretch, but they had worked hard to tackle the trail. Knowing that it would demand all they had, the pair had purposely picked Harpers Ferry as their starting point, partially because they wanted to avoid the mass crowds that usually started at Springer Mountain, Georgia. Now, Springer Mountain averages approximately 35 hikers who embark on the trail every day. So it's a little bit crowded.
Could you imagine how many? 35?
35 a day.
That's not that many. Come on.
Hikers?
Could you imagine trying to hike from Georgia to Maine? How crazy does that sound?
I'm not hiking from here to the gas station, and that's only a half a mile.
That's what I'm saying. I got a friend that trains jiu-jitsu. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he just decided he's going to start running. And him and his best friend, they were like, well, we started running, so we might as well enter an ultra marathon.
No.
Do you know how long an ultra marathon is?
Yeah, I've watched David Goggins run them.
Well, I don't know if they have a set amount. Most of them have a set amount, which is ungodly amounts anyway. But this one in particular, it was just run as much as you can in 24 hours. 24 hours of running
on a track.
Yes,
it's crazy.
Like, and the thing is he was live streaming it, and we was talking shit and making fun of him. And then the best part of it all was when he revealed that his best friend drove a damn stick shift, and they were an hour away from home.
Good Lord.
Yes.
I'd have just kept walking home. Ain't no way I'd have tried to push a clutch in.
Dude, we were like, what?
I made that mistake in high school one time. There was a gym in Rome on the other side of town. It was like a 25-minute drive from my house. And I did legs that day, and I walked out all Elvis-legged, and I had an 87 Centra 5 on the floor, baby. I made it to about the third red light, and I was like, I'm going to have to pull over. I'm just going to have to sit here until my legs stop hurting. It was awful.
It was hilarious, man, because they brought like a tent. They set up like one of those, like with the poles and like a cover, not like a camping tent, but they set up a tent, a massage table, 3 Gatorade jugs of water, and all this equipment for this. And they were like, we did not plan on the way we were going to feel when we were done. Like, we just didn't. Like, they had to load all that in the car. They had to walk it to the car. Like, you guys are morons.
Yeah. Once again, I'm not running, and that proves why.
Yeah, but like walking from Georgia to Maine, that is a rich person activity, because who's got that kind of time? Who's got that kind of time? I know people do it in pieces. They'll come and they'll do like, let's say 50 miles and then stop and go back to their life and come back at a later point and start at the same point they ended at. I understand that, but still, it's insane to me.
It is. I don't get it, but I wasn't, it's not one of them things that makes my brain itch. So I'm not all for it. Now, going back to Jerry, she had chose Harpers Ferry because it's quiet and she's in the mid-Atlantic. The heat of summer was still months away. The water sources were plentiful. And if all went well, her and Jane would reach Maine before the first snowfall and then make the return trip south to finish the trail. So the day before the hike, Jerry and Jane, along with George, met in town with Jane's husband, James, who had joined them to see them off. They spent the evening sorting their gear, repacking bags, and in anticipation, they hardly slept. So the morning of April 23rd, 2013 was a crisp morning that brought the promise of new beginnings. The sun rose over the surrounding hills of Harper's Ferry, and Jerry Largay stood on the trailhead. Tightening the straps on her backpack, she looked down the worn dirt path ahead, and her husband George told her and Jane to not overdo it, and while he didn't verbalize his worry, it was written all over his face. George had spent years watching over Jerry, quietly supporting her, letting her be who she needed to be. This was why he didn't argue when she told him she wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail. He just nodded and said, okay. And Jerry tells George that she will take it slow. Quote, "You know me, inch by inch." And George replied, "Inchworm," and the couple laughed. And Jerry had earned her trail name Inchworm through self-depreciating humor, and she would often joke about how slow she was when tackling any inclines. Now, George handed her a small packet of trail mix, which she took and tucked into the side pocket of her pack, and she knew he needed these little gestures, these little acts of care to make him feel better, and it was his way of kind of letting her go without technically letting her go. Now, Jerry took a deep breath and felt the cool air enter her lungs, and she loved the quiet. She loved the promise of the trail. It was why she had spent her life caring for others as a nurse, as a mom, as a friend, and as a wife.
The best summer memories are made outside, and LL Bean has the clothing and gear you need to make these memories. Their effortless styles are created for summers spent outside with family and friends. Like hand-sewn boat shoes, coastal cotton sweaters, rugged polos, and, of course, the iconic Boatin' Tote, which has been made right here in Maine since 1944. LL Bean. Be an outsider. Visit llbean.com to learn more.
I wrote a little song to remind you, Choice Hotels get you more of the experiences you value. The Cambria Hotel's got it all. A rooftop bar, have a ball. Cocktails up here feel just right. Is Cambria amazing? All right. Bring a date, your team, or even your mom. Book direct at choicehotels.com. See you on the roof.
And I about died right there. During that whole escapade, I forgot how to swallow.
Don't die, homie.
I know, right here in the middle of it. He just killed over. He's hit the floor. Now, the trail was her time, her space, her way to decompress. Jerry's gear was simple but reliable. She had a lightweight tent, a sleeping bag, a compact stove, and enough food to get her through to the next resupply point. She carried a map, a compass, and a small notebook. Keep in mind, this compass will come into play later. She had planned to write down her thoughts each night, keeping a journal of her hike to look back on when she finished. Jerry and Jane said their goodbyes, and the pair turned and headed up the Appalachian Trail. Now, the trail offers shelters, little trail towns, and a community of people who all share the love of the outdoors. Hiking the trail is not only a physical test, but it is a mental one as well. So Jerry and Jane had chosen the flip-flop through hike of the Appalachian Trail. You may be asking yourself, what? What is the flip-flop through? Well, it is a variation of the traditional through hike in which, basically, hikers start at a midpoint along the trail. They hike in one direction, north or south. Then they travel back to the midpoint to hike in the opposite direction to finish the complete trail. So for Jerry and Jane, they began at Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, roughly the trail's midpoint. And then from Harper's Ferry, they would hike north to Mount Katahdin in Maine. And then once they got there, they would return to Harper's Ferry and then hike south to Springer Mountain, Georgia to complete the entire trail. Now, Jerry would log her trail by emailing her childhood friend, Betty Ann, when they started. The trail led them out of town past historic buildings, and within just a half a mile, they crossed the Potomac River. And they crossed on a weather-beaten trestle bridge, stepping into Maryland for a short stretch. And then the trail followed the C&O Canal Trail Path. And this was an easier hike for beginners before they had to veer off into the woods. When they reached Gathland State Park, they saw the National War Correspondents Memorial. The problem was that there was no camping allowed in that park. So they decided on their first night that they were going to let George pick them up, and he would drive them 10 miles north to Greenbrier State Park. And Greenbrier was deserted that evening and had this eerie feel to it. So Jerry and Jane made camp and had to stay there for 3 nights due to rain in the area. Now, Jerry knew that they wouldn't always be this lucky. George, who had earned the trail name Sherpa in part for his role in resupplying the women on their hike, basically would drive them to their starting point and meet them later in the day, sometimes joining them on the hike for a little short staunch, and then he would return to his car. Now, the trail would take the pair through Washington Monument State Park, where Jerry took some time to study the structure, which was built in 1827. Now, this was the first monument ever completed by the one and only George Washington. So by April 25th, the terrain had grown rougher. The trail was rocky, and one section that stretched 150 yards was nothing but boulders stacked like puzzle pieces. It was slow going. They had only seen 2 other hikers that entire day. Jerry realized how early they were in the season in Harper's Ferry. They had been told only a dozen hikers had come through so far. So on April 26th, they crossed the Mason-Dixon line into Pennsylvania. The forest changed abruptly from the lush woods of Maryland to a barren, lifeless stretch of dead trees. There were no monuments or parks, no birds, as Jane would recall, just silence. And Jerry felt uneasy and said that she felt as if they were walking through a graveyard. That night they stayed at... Go ahead.
I just let you know how much more beautiful the South is than the North. I mean, seriously.
Yep. Crossed into it, didn't hear nothing.
As soon as you cross the Mason-Dixon line, that's nothing. No trees, no birds, no sweet tea. How do you live like that? I get made fun of because I'm a Southerner who just does not like sweet tea at all. I don't drink sweet tea. I'd rather have warm Earl Grey tea than sweet tea.
I hear you. So that night they stayed at the shelter. This shelter was a lot cleaner than any Jerry had seen. There were no mice, and the caretakers stopped by to check in on Jerry and Jane. They were a warm, friendly couple who brought a sense of life to the dead woods. The moon was nearly full, and the owls could be heard in the distance. So the next morning, late arriving hikers invited Jerry and Jane to join their campfire. So on April 27th, the hikers made it to Chimney Rocks Park in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. Jerry took some time to soak in the breathtaking views before finishing the day's hike. That night, they met George and indulged in a hotel room, fresh with hot showers, clean clothes, and an actual real bed. Felt like heaven, Jerry said, who fell asleep thinking how well the hike had started. Unbeknownst to Jerry and Jane, their journey on the Appalachian Trail was about to take a dark turn. So by June, Jerry and Jane had found the rhythm. They moved strong and steady, supported by George's supply runs, and on June the 5th, they crossed the Housatonic River in Massachusetts, whose waters were slow and deliberate, just like old Jerry. And at a point of concern started to surface during the trip was that Jerry often would lose her bearings in the morning, and Jane had expressed some concerns about this. And when she verbalized them to Jerry, Jerry kind of got frustrated and just brushed her off. But they kept moving. So they would meet trail friends who offered rest and kindness and relief from the day's daunting hike. Now, on June 29th, things would take a drastic turn. Jane, who was also a nurse, received a call that her grown daughter had fractured her ankle during a hike somewhere close to her daughter's home, and the injury required a lot of extra care. So unfortunately, Jane was going to have to go home to help take care of her daughter. This was devastating news for Jerry and George. Inchworm had just lost her hiking partner, and there was a decision to be made for Jerry. None of Jerry's friends had wanted her to take on the Appalachian Trail alone, but George's system of steady support and supply runs was working, and it would keep working. The trail ahead was no small task. The White Mountains in New Hampshire were brutal, and Maine would be even tougher. Both Jane and George knew this. George also knew Jerry had a fear of the dark and didn't like the thought of being outside by herself. So they weighed their options, and George and Jerry, who had made many hard decisions in the 42 years of their marriage, ultimately decided that Jerry would just keep going. So when Jane and Jerry said goodbye, there were both tears and smiles. They promised to stay in touch through emails as often as they could. So as the trail stretched ahead, Jerry moved forward, slow and steady, but alone. The White Mountains tested her just as they tested everybody. There were sharp rocks, steep climbs, and a relentless rain. Jerry's first solo night at Eliza Brook Shelter went well. There she met a man named Terry Blue Moon Bliss. They laughed, swapped stories, and marveled at the clean, graffiti-free walls of the shelter.
I would like to know how you get that nickname. That sounds like a cool one.
Yeah.
I ain't knocking it at all. That's pretty neat. That's a neat little nickname right there.
Well, if she got hers from her slow, steady, does that mean that he got his from his pale, pasty butt mooning people?
You never know.
Never gonna know. Never gonna know. So Jerry told Blue Moon about George's support on the trail. We call him Sherpa, she said. The next morning, she left early with her pack secure and a steady pace. Now, Blue Moon remembered her as a confident lady who had a sense of belonging out there. And Jerry moved through the days with a routine. She would get up, eat breakfast, hike, rest when she got tired, and then push forward to make camp at night. So July the 5th would bring Jerry to the White Mountains hut system. At Mizpah Hut, she met an energetic family, and their stories filled the evening with warmth and laughter. The next day, she hiked with Jim, the family's grandfather, up to Lake of the Clouds. The fog was thick, but the trail was marked by rock cairns. And on July 7th, Jerry would make Mount Washington, but the fog and 69-mile-per-hour winds whipped around the summit, leaving the trail above the tree line exposed and very cruel. So not only are you hiking by yourself, now you're facing a trail above the tree line, and there's 69-mile-an-hour winds. No.
No, thank you.
No, ain't none of that sounds fun.
Not at all.
So these next waypoints are not on any official map, but it is routinely described in most hikers' journals. So as Jerry continued past Madison Spring Hut, she made her way to what is called the Talus Fields. Now, this is a large boulder field that is above the tree line. The next area she passed was what is called the Barren Expanse. This is also a rock field area that has sparse vegetation, but is plagued by fog and severe weather. Not for the faint of heart. And if you are keeping up with Missing 411, we got boulder fields. We got bad weather. So keep your list, your checklist going.
That's true. I didn't think about that, but yeah, it's starting to match up with some Missing 411, ain't it?
It sure is. So on July the 8th, the rain poured, turning the trail into a slick, treacherous test. Now, this is where Jerry would prove her name Inchworm true. She covered approximately 3 miles in 6 hours. Tired but determined, she said goodbye to Jim and his family, grateful for their company through the unforgiving terrain. So by mid-July, the rains had stopped, and Jerry saw clearer skies as she continued. George waited in town, always ready with supplies and support. It would be late July when Jerry reached Maine, the final stretch of her northern flip-flop through hike. As she made it to the Poplar Ridge lean-to, she was tired but determined, ready to rest for the next leg of the journey. And I think it's called, that last leg up to the end of the trail, I think it's called the 100-mile or 100-meter. It's not 100 meter. It wouldn't be 100 meter. It'd be a 100-mile stretch. And it's just, it's beautiful, breathtaking, but there's just nothing up there. So while she was up at the Poplar Ridge lean-to, she met Regina and Dottie, 2 hikers that were heading south. Jerry, with her warm spirit, made quick friends with the ladies, and they talked late into the evening, sharing stories. So the next morning, Jerry was up early, methodically organizing her gear, and she had a plan to head north to the Spalding Mountain Lean-To and spend another night on the trail before meeting George, where the trail crossed Route 27 in Wyman Township. That morning, she texted him, quote, about to leave the shelter. Don't worry about getting stuff for 100-mile wilderness or 100-meter wilderness. It wouldn't be 100 meters, though. But anyway, that's
where you keep getting meters from, bruh.
That's my piss poor note-taking skills.
Listen, there's two type of countries in this world. Countries that use the metric system and countries that have been on the moon. So you use American measurements, sir, please.
Well, I have not. You can Google it, and you can just type in Maine 100-meter wilderness and see if it comes up and says, did you mean 100-mile wilderness? All right. So
I type in Maine 100. Only option, Maine 100-mile wilderness.
Mile. All right. There you got it. I knew it wasn't meters.
It's a famously remote but rugged 99.6-mile stretch of the Appalachian Trail in Maine.
There you
Most backpackers take 7 to 10 days to complete it. My fat ass take about 100 days to complete it.
Yeah.
If that. Especially if it's uphill at all. I don't do hills.
I don't like inclines myself.
I don't do it. Not for me.
Nope. Not gonna do it. Not prudent. So Regina and Dottie were sad to see Jerry leave their company, but as she is shouldering her pack, Dottie asked Jerry if she could take a picture. Quote, it'll make a great Christmas card, end quote, Dottie said. Jerry laughed and said, of course. So in the photo, and I'll try, I know I say this all the time, but I'll try to find that photo again and put it on our socials. You can see Jerry standing strong, tan, wearing beige hiking shorts and a red fleece sweater, smiling from ear to ear. You can also see in the photo her orange emergency whistle clipped to her right shoulder strap. She looked like the picture of health and happiness. So with a wave, Jerry turned and headed up the trail. Dottie and Regina headed down the trail. So by July 22nd, Jerry would face a test that no amount of preparation could have overcome. The photo that Dottie took would be the last image of Jerry Largay. Jerry headed down the path from Poplar Ridge Lean-To, heading towards Overton Stream. Now, after crossing the stream, it is theorized that she more than likely rested on the rocks on Railroad Road above the stream. She would have continued on the trail, moving steadily as it climbed beside Sluice Brooks. No, Sluice Brook, not Brooks. So if you search Poplar Ridge on YouTube's, you can find footage of this area. And it's basically these mammoth, humongoloid, smooth granite boulders that make this natural stepping staircase. And the next mile of the trail would not have been difficult. The deciduous trees, and for those of you that are not fresh out of school, deciduous means they lose their leaves, for you ignorant wretches.
Boulder fields again, though.
Yep, we got boulder fields. And we got two streams she crossed. We got Watre in the picture now.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
You know, if you think about it, it's kind of describing things you find in a forest.
Imagine that.
Like, you telling me there's rocks out here?
And trees? There's trees out here?
I wouldn't believe it unless I seen it.
I know it. So with the trees and the boulders, you've got some natural fern undergrowth that shades the trail, but the trail's worn and it's clearly marked. So next, Jerry would have encountered a bend in the trail. Now, that is theorized from her journal that it was at this point she felt the call of nature. And so she decides that she's going to turn off the trail, find a little place to relieve herself out of the side of the trail in case someone walks by. Now, prior to this, when she had to answer the call of nature, she would set her backpack down on the trail so that she could see it, but it would also allow any other hikers coming to know that, hey, there's probably someone over on either side of the trail. and it was a good way to kind of mark where she went in. She didn't do that this time. So when she finishes answering the call, she puts her pack on, and then she begins walking back towards the trail, or where she thought the trail was. And within a few steps, she realized that something was wrong. The trail's gone. She turned and tried another direction. No trail. She looked around trying to get her bearings, but all the trees started looking very similar. She walked for several minutes, hoping to stumble back onto the trail. She stopped, tried another direction. The more she moved, the more confused she became. By the time Jerry understood that she was lost, nearly an hour had passed. She felt certain she was west of the trail. Unfortunately, the compass that I talked about earlier was one of those little bitty compasses that goes on a keychain. And it's not going to provide you much help, except point you due north. It is so small that she couldn't get a true bearing and do any land nav with it. So she had considered carrying a spot locator with her, but decided against it because it was with George. Now, I don't know if she had planned on during that next resupply meeting with him to take it for that 100-mile, which seems plausible, but she didn't have it with her. She didn't want to carry the extra weight. So in Jerry's defense, most hikers don't carry them because the trail is very well marked. And they say it's like white. I can't remember how the article read that I saw. Basically, it's just big white markers showing the trail. I mean, it's very obvious where the trail's at. So that's why a lot of hikers don't carry those spot locators. So at 11:01 a.m., she turned on her phone and sent a text message to George, quote, "In some trouble, got off the trail to go to the bathroom, now lost. Can you call AMC to see if a trail maintainer can help me? Somewhere north of Woods Road, kisses." And that was the end of the message. Problem was the message didn't go through, and the screen flashed, "Message failed." She doesn't have any cell service. So
that's the most heartbreaking part. I mean, all of it's heartbreaking, but think about her husband. Once they find her, they recover the cell phone. The only reason why we know that message exists is because they found it on her cell phone undelivered. That's just got to be so heartbreaking.
It is, man. It's off. This case it's bad. But so in the meantime, Jerry climbed higher, hoping that the higher she went in elevation, the easier she would be able to pick up a cell signal. But unfortunately, there was nothing. She was miles from the nearest cell service, alone in the woods. Jerry began to pray, and she was a staunch Catholic, and she had a rosary. And she had prayed, it sounds like from what we know from the excerpts of her journal, she prayed every night. Now, the trail that she had found herself on heading north, heading higher in elevation, was not a maintained trail, and it started to basically disappear. The ground was uneven, root balls and roots were, making it uneven. Rocks in the trail made her footing less certain, so Jerry slowed her pace, her eyes scanning ahead. She had not seen a trail marker in some time, but that wasn't unusual in this part of the woods. As the minutes turned into hours, a growing restlessness began to take hold of her. The trail didn't feel right. It was way too overgrown. She stopped again, set her pack down, and pulled out her map. Now, she studied it, and she would turn it and trying to match the lines on the paper to the contours of what she was seeing. But nothing looked familiar. She looked down at that little tiny compass, and she thought she had been heading north, but now she wasn't so sure. So Jerry took a deep breath, trying to squash the panic. And panic was the enemy, and she had read the stories of hikers who had gotten lost and made mistakes in their desperation to be found. She would not be one of them. Jerry decided to backtrack, retracing her steps to the last place she had seen a trail marker. But the forest was a maze, and every path she tried seemed to lead her deeper into the wilderness.
That's the sad part about it, is because that's one of the first things they tell you about surviving in a situation like that is to hunker down. Don't, let them find you. And she did that, and they just didn't.
No,
it's crazy to me.
And the more she walked, the less certain she became. Her heart began to race, making it harder to breathe. She stopped and sat down on a fallen log. Her hands were trembling. She reached for a water bottle and noticed that the forest was eerily silent. She thought about George waiting for her at the hotel. He would be worried when she didn't show up, but he wouldn't panic. He would wait, give her time, and then trust that she would find her way. That's what he always did. She had to find her way back. So Jerry decided to stop for the night. Due to the light fading in the forest was no place for her to be wandering around in the pitch dark. Now, she found a small clearing and set up her tent. She lit a small fire and ate one of her rationed meals, but the food tasted like ash in her mouth. What if she couldn't find the trail? What if no one found her? That night, she lay awake in her sleeping bag, listening to the sounds of the forest. The next morning, she woke to a heavily clouded sky. And she moved through the dense woods, searching not for a path, but she was looking for a signal on her phone. She believed still that the higher she could travel, she had a better chance of catching a cell service. And she also thought it might make her more visible or offer a view of something that she could recognize. Her compass could tell her where north was, but not where to go. She knew that south of her was a road, the Woods Road, and west of her lay the Navy's training grounds, and a place she more than likely didn't know existed. So north was nothing but an endless forest. East was the trail, the Appalachian Trail, which, unbeknownst to Jerry, was closer than she could have imagined. So Jerry ultimately turned southwest, paralleling the trail instead of finding it. Before she was lost, Jerry had walked with a purpose. Part of the trail, part of its life, part of its rhythm. She had smiled at strangers, shared stories at campfires, but now she found herself making desperate steps and started her inchworm progress. She crossed 2 small streams and climbed 3 ridges that was full of old logging, slash, and brambles, or what we like to call in the South as briars and bullshit, boys and girls. The undergrowth scratched her legs and her arms up, but she kept climbing. She would make camp near the second stream, and it was less than ideal. It was hidden, it was damp, and in her journal, she referred to it as, quote, a crummy spot, end quote. The second stream would be her grounding point, but rain came, and it was heavy, and it was unrelenting. At 4:18 p.m., she attempted to text George again, quote, lost since yesterday, off trail 3 or 4 miles, call police for what to do, please, kisses. And that was the end of that text. Problem, still no signal, so the message just sat there unsent. Miles away, George waited at Route 27, asking every hiker that came by if they had seen Jerry. He explained that she was supposed to meet him there. The rain had soaked the trail and slowed everyone down. With the weather came blisters and bad food, which could delay anybody for a day or two. But George stayed out there, speaking to hikers as they appeared, searching for news of Jerry. On Wednesday, the rain stopped and the sun warmed the ridges. Jerry broke camp and moved higher. She managed to find a small clearing at the top of the next ridge. It wasn't much, but it was something. She constructed a little platform of sticks and leaves to get her tent off of the wet ground. She could still hear the stream nearby.
This episode is brought to you by Starbucks.
That is fire.
Whoa,
That's good.
this might be the drink of the summer.
Okay, I like this one too. I'm rocking with it. Okay.
Try it for yourself. Starbucks Refreshers Concentrates are coming home. Find them in the coffee aisle and make it yours.
United connects you to more of the world than any U.S. airline, and United for Business can get your company where you need to go. Whether you're growing a business or managing travel for thousands, they offer solutions to fit your needs. Track expenses, create reports, and manage traveler perks. Plus, employees earn Mileage Plus miles while your company saves on travel. Get started with no minimum spend or flight requirements. Visit business.united.com/podcast.
She would hang a mylar blanket in the trees as a beacon that might catch a stray eye. That night, she ate almonds, prunes, and a handful of Fritos and counted the calories. She wrote in her journal, quote, 300 for supper, end quote. And that's nothing.
Yeah, that's quite low.
Yeah.
You burn through that less than an hour, especially in a survival situation.
Yeah, and what nobody understands is she's in a heightened state, and so she's burning calories more because she's so anxious.
She's probably like damn near in a panic attack. Having a panic attack. I would be. I'd be ridiculous.
I'd have been screaming, howling. Ah! But anyway.
Help!
I'm over here. But anyway. In the quiet of the night, Jerry lay in her tent, her body still, but her mind going 100 miles an hour. She tried to think clearly to plan her next move. The most logical thing she knew was to stay put. The search teams would be looking for her soon if they weren't already. Wandering further into the forest would only make it harder for them to find her, but the thought of staying in one place, waiting for help that might never come, filled her with a gnawing fear. She pulled out her journal, flipping to a blank page. Writing had always helped her organize her thoughts, to make sense of things when the world felt too big. The days began to dissolve into each other. She woke each morning to the same gray light filtering through the trees, the same damp chill in the air. Her routine became mechanical. Get water, boil water, eat a small meal, try to orient herself with her compass and her map. She had rationed her food carefully, eating just enough to keep her strength up. However, those portions were getting smaller. Her stomach growled constantly. She was using the stream to refill her water bottle, making sure that she boiled it to make it safe for drink. Her journal became her lifeline. Each night she wrote a few lines, recording her thoughts and fears, leaving messages for the people she loved. The entries grew shorter, her handwriting shakier, and as the days passed, it was the nights that were the hardest. The darkness was absolute. Jerry knew she was in trouble. Her strength was fading, and she felt the weight of her aloneness pressing down on her. The realization that she might never see another person again was growing. She lay down in her sleeping bag, the cold seeping into her bones, and she stared up at the ceiling of her tent. She wondered if this isolated place would be her final resting place. Meanwhile, George slept in his car on the side of Route 27 near the trail. He began to worry. For 2 days, he had asked any northbound hikers who crossed the road whether they had seen his wife. He decided he had waited long enough, and he contacted the state police. The state police, contacted the Maine Warden Service, and Warden Lieutenant Kevin Adam took the call. And though he listened carefully, he wasn't alarmed. He knew the number of hikers who got lost on the trail in Maine were usually found within 24 hours, or they walked out on their own. He began assembling the pieces of the puzzle, gathering facts, laying out a plan. One of his wardens called George for more information. George explains to the warden the flip-flop hike that Jerry had planned, how she left Poplar Ridge 2 days earlier, and how she was now a full day overdue. That night, as darkness fell, Adam spread out his maps, traced trails, ridge lines with his fingers. He was thinking about Jerry's likely path. The first task was clear, confirm her direction of travel, pin down her last known point. He coordinated with with Border Patrol agents and state police, who worked quickly to establish roadblocks and gather as much information as they could. The search began quickly, growing into one of the largest search efforts in Maine's history. The Maine Warden Service, the Maine State Police, the U.S. Border Patrol, and search and rescue teams from across the region joined forces. The first days of the search were marked by urgency and hope. The Maine Warden Service immediately mobilized a team of search and rescue personnel. They began where Jerry was last seen, Poplar Ridge Lean-To. Fellow hikers had seen her there on July 22nd, smiling, chatting, and preparing for the next leg of her journey. She had left that morning with every intention of meeting George the next day. The search teams quickly established a 23-square-mile grid around her last known location. The terrain was rugged, the forest was dense, with towering pines and thick undergrowth. Trails snaked through the woods, but the network was confusing, and many side trails were scantily marked or unmarked at all. So it was easy for even experienced hikers to get turned around. Jerry's likely route was carefully studied, and searchers fanned out, combing the trail and its immediate surroundings. Volunteers joined the effort, including Appalachian Trail hikers who had been passing through the area. Tracking dogs were deployed into the underbrush. Overhead helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft equipped with infrared signal sensors scanned for signs of movement or heat signatures. The Maine Warden Service used every resource available to them, but the forest just would not give up any information. Days turned into a week, and the lack of progress weighed heavily on the searchers. They knew the statistics. The longer someone remained missing in the wilderness, the slimmer their chance of survival became. Their hope was that Jerry had been a nurse and she had prepared for the hike. If anyone could endure the wilderness, they told themselves it was her. The area was a maze of dense trees, moss-covered boulders, and steep ravines. Streams crisscrossed the landscape, their banks muddy and deceitful. The canopy was so thick in places that even aerial searches struggled to penetrate it. So while the Appalachian Trail was well marked, it was easy to lose sight of its white trail markers once you stepped off the path. Jerry's training and careful preparation were not enough to overcome the chaos that could have ensued. The wilderness searchers believed she had likely left the trail to relieve herself, something that every hiker does without much thought, but in the forest, stepping just a few feet off the trail could be the difference between safety and disaster. The moment you lose sight of those white trail markers, the forest closes in and the trail vanishes behind you. Rescue teams had to face the reality of her situation. Jerry had carried a map and a compass, but no GPS device. She had enough food for a few days, but now she would be relying on her wits, rationing supplies, and searching for water sources. The forest was not kind to the lost. Nights were cold, even in the summer months, and rain was frequent, soaking the ground and chilling the air. Coyotes roamed the woods, their howls echoing through the trees at night, and then there was the isolation. Just vast, unbroken silence that would erode the most determined person. So after 7 days of searching, hope began to fade. The Maine Warden Service announced they were transitioning from an active rescue mission to a recovery operation. It was a grim acknowledgement of the odds Jerry now faced. Searchers continued to comb the area, but the operation scaled back. As weeks turned into months, small teams returned periodically to recheck areas they had already searched in the hopes of finding a clue, a piece of gear, a note, a trail marker that was disturbed, something. But nothing was found. Volunteers refused to give up. Appalachian Trail hikers continued to keep an eye out for anything unusual, though most knew the chances of finding Jerry alive were slim. So by late 2013, the official search had all but ended, and her case remained open. However, they didn't have a whole lot of hope. So 2 years after her disappearance, there was a major and heartbreaking breakthrough in her case. Prentice and Carlisle, a forest management company, had been mapping and managing the forest of Maine since 1924. They had walked tens of thousands of miles through the North Maine woods, marking trees and surveying land. And in all that time, only once had one of their men found a body. And that once was October 14th, 2015. That afternoon, Lieutenant Kevin Adam of the Maine Warden Service drove south on Route 15 near Greenville. He had been checking on hunters and planned to stay on the trail when his phone rang. He answered and was told that a body had been found on Navy property in Readington Township. Mr. Adam pulled to the side of the road and sat there processing what he had just heard. In his gut, he knew it was Jerry. It just had to be. So he stayed parked for 30 minutes making calls, his mind racing with the weight of 2 years of searching for her. The next morning, after coordinating with local authorities, he gathered his team of game wardens who had searched for Jerry. The group hiked to the site, escorted by state police, medical examiners, NCIS officers, and even a reality TV crew from Northwoods Law. I didn't realize her case was on that show.
Yeah, from what you were reading, I thought you were going to miss that, and I was just waiting to pop in and be like, I don't know, man, that she was on TV. Yeah, unfortunately, Northwoods Law was filming an episode, and they found her.
Yeah, I think the way it read was they were actually with him, and he was trying to find some poachers, and that's when he got the call. Which, sidebar, I started the Yogurt Shop Murders documentary on HBO, and I just, knowing what has been revealed, I just couldn't finish it. But anyway, I made it through the first episode, and in that episode, one of the local news stations in Austin had done a ride-along with the detective, and he actually got the call on air. And so they were one of the first news agencies to the yogurt shop. But anyway, so the surveyor who had actually found the tent led the group to the site. So when they arrived, it was definitely Jerry's campsite. It was hidden under the branches of a hemlock tree, just as the surveyors had described. Her tent was collapsed and weathered, the ground beneath it built up with sticks and leaves to keep it dry. The group did not see a fire ring. The hemlock's wide branches had hidden her from the numerous aerial searches. Around the site, there was plenty of dry wood, yet Jerry hadn't built a fire. The wardens noticed scorched marks on 2 small trees nearby and theorized that Jerry had attempted to signal for help. Inside the tent, they found her journal, and on the first page was a note addressed to whoever would find her. And this is heartbreaking, so prepare yourself. Quote, "When you find my body, please call my husband George and my daughter Carrie. It will be the greatest kindness for them to know that I am dead. And where you find me, no matter how many years from now, please find it in your heart to mail the contents of this bag to one of them." End quote. Mr. Adams stood silently as the site was cataloged and cleaned. They had spent countless hours searching these woods, and now they saw where Jerry had waited. They saw how close she had been. He had actually surveyed the area and realized all the things they had missed. Branches had blocked their view. The faint trail had eluded them. As the evidence was gathered and Jerry's remains prepared for transport, the wardens carried her out. Quote, "We carried her out because we were there at the beginning, and we were going to take her down, and we were going to take her home." So when they reached the base of the ridge, Lieutenant Adams spoke to the cameras. His voice was steady, but also very sad. "She's in a... Good Lord, I can't talk. Excuse me. She's in a place just off the trail. That was the last place we hadn't gotten to. There was no anger. There was no excuses, only the bitter reality of how close she had been." He proceeded with, "I started on this search when it first came out. I know where I was today when I got called, and we all want to see Jerry come home." End quote. So in the following days, Jerry's belongings were documented and cataloged. Her green backpack, the Mylar blanket, candles, matches, her journal, that small tiny compass, all brought in. The final autopsy confirmed it was Jerry, and the cause of death was listed as, quote, I'm going to mispronounce this, inanition, starvation, and exposure. Now that inanition, starvation is the state of extreme malnutrition starvation. Basically, she was not taking in enough calories to maintain organ operation. There were no signs of trauma. For the wardens, for Jerry's family, and all who had followed the story, there was relief, but it was hollow. Jerry had been lost for 2 years, but she had never been far, and now finally she was going home. With the discovery of Jerry's journal, the details of her final days came to light. She had documented much of the ordeal. Her words painted a picture of endurance, hope, and quiet suffering. Whatever anxieties Geraldine Largay might have had before getting lost, fear of the dark, being alone, they were surely intensified within minutes of realizing that she was lost. Every indication is that despite her lack of outdoor knowledge, Jerry kept it together. Within hours of becoming lost, Jerry began to make decisions, some instinctual, some deliberate. By July 27th, her 5th day lost, Jerry's food was nearly gone. She rationed carefully but had no water filter, and fearing parasites in the stream, she decided to boil her water, and she left her water filter with George so that she could take it for that last 100-mile leg. She also lacked medications, which I didn't know that George provided every time he met her up. And they never talked about any of her health problems, but combine that with starvation, man, she was a trooper.
Yeah, man, that's an awful way to go.
Yeah. As she weakened, she would make improvements to her tent, trying to lay pine needles to buffer her from the damp ground. Weeks of rain had left the forest drenched. Jerry recorded thoughts in her journal revealing her resilience. She tried to light fires once, keeping one going for hours, but the damp wood would just fizzle out. She attempted to signal aircraft and conserve energy, but starvation dulled her reasoning. After wandering for miles in search of the trail, she finally stayed put, but by then the distance from her to the searchers was vast. At night, the forest came alive with sounds that terrified her, but she managed. Clutching a rosary for comfort, despite dwindling supplies and a failing body, she held on. Geraldine Largay survived for 26 days before she succumbed to starvation. And that is awful.
This is what everyone's talking about.
Everything's on the table.
This is what champions come to take. This is what everyone came to see.
And the slam!
No do-overs. No second chances. No more Mr. Nice Guy. This is winner take all. The NBA Finals continue on ABC and the ESPN app.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Now, Jerry never gave up holding on to hope until the very end. Now, they never had a proper chance at goodbye, but nearly 3 years after she got lost, the Largay family were able to finally put their beloved Geraldine to rest. Quote, Geraldine Largay was a positive, vibrant, optimistic, enthusiastic, and spiritual person. We miss her every day. She was and still is a beacon of light for her family and everyone who knew her, and her final days were a testament to her bravery, resourcefulness, and her faith. End quote. At the site where her remains were found, a simple memorial marked by a cross in the ground stands beneath a tree, marking the place where Jerry Inchworm Largay lived her final days. Another memorial lies on the Appalachian Trail at the Wyman Township crossing. Her memorials stand as reminders not just of the risk, but of the courage it takes to step into the unknown, to keep moving forward even when the world turns quiet and the path disappears. Despite the tragedy, George wants his wife's life to serve as an inspiration for others. In remembrance of his wife, before his passing in 2019, George would say, quote, she would want this to help inspire somebody who's maybe on the sidelines and never thought about doing something like this at that age, not to hold back and to just go for it, because she embraced life, and she would want anyone who reads about this to as well. She would want this to serve as a reason to do it, or to do something else that they were thinking about versus to sit on the sidelines and play it safe, end quote. George found inspiration in his wife's memory as well and wanted to find ways to keep her always in his thoughts. He would state, quote, she was where she wanted to be. That's easier said than done when you've been happily married for 42 years and had visions of it being a lot longer than that. But she was following the dream, and I have to go with that, end quote. So I had talked to Coach about this, and this is, like I said at the beginning, it's a quasi-missing 411 case.
I feel like I need to explain some things. Okay, I'm gonna jump in here. Some people might be thinking this is not really a mystery. They just didn't find her, and you're not wrong. Because I got duped. Okay, I watched this. I was gonna recommend this page because it was awesome. The videos are interesting, and he said a bunch of shit about this case that just weren't true. And I fell for it, and I just jumped on the bandwagon. I said, man, we got to cover this. I didn't even realize there's a mystery, blah, 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 blah. And the reason why we still did it is because Arlo did himself a bunch of research, and it's already done, and I just felt bad. So we went ahead and did it. It's a good story to know, and it's a good lesson to learn with being careful in the woods. And there are some things that we will say that we're going to try to pull it back into a mystery aspect. But don't believe everything you hear on the internet. And I mean, you'd already started the research, and I was watching this guy's videos, and I was like, that's cool, that's cool. And then he brought up Terrence Woods Jr. and how he got lost in Georgia. And he was doing something, and he was on a hiking trail with friends in Georgia, and he just took off running into the woods and he's never seen again. And I was like, wait a minute. I said, hold on. And I was going to say, we need to do that case too. And come to find out, we've done that case. We've done that case. And Terrence Woods Jr. was not hiking with friends in Georgia. He was a production assistant on a show in Idaho. And yes, he did start. He just took off running for no one else. No one knows the reasons but him. It died with it. But he took off running into the woods and didn't stop and was never seen again. But this guy said he was in Georgia. And then you was already done with your research. And I was like, I don't know if we should trust this guy. And you're like, yeah, I'll say, because this guy's full of shit. There's no mystery here.
Yeah. I messaged him and I was like, hey, dude, I just finished my research. And I even went one step further and did a deep dive with multiple AI things and was like, hey, what am I missing? And they're like, you're not missing anything there, bud. You got it all covered.
And then I doubled down and I was like, well, what about this article? This article's talking about how she was found on Navy land, the SERE, which is survive, evade, or whatever. I was like, and that article said that they took her and they killed her, and it's like, it's a damn fictional book. The guy wrote it. He got inspired by her case. I was like, I screwed this all kinds of up.
However, she
was only found 100 yards off the trail.
Right.
And how could she not find them? How could they not find her?
They used 3 separate dog teams, two of which were cadaver dog teams. One was a scent dog trail or a scent dog team. And yeah, she was 100 yards off the trail, tucked under a hemlock, but it's wild because one of the internet folklore things about her case was that she had seen the searchers. She heard them calling for her and she was blowing her whistle, but they couldn't hear her. And she recorded all this in her journal, supposedly.
Supposedly she did not, because it didn't happen.
Right. She did not. The full journal has never been publicized. It's part, I think her daughter Carrie has it. And I even tried to get what we know has been released, and there was Freedom of Information requests put out for certain things. What we do know is the timeline. So on July 22nd of 2013, she goes off the trail to go to the bathroom. That's when she gets lost. She tries to send that text message to her husband, but it doesn't go through. The next day, July 23rd through August the 10th, which would be days 2 through 19 or 1 through 19, however you want to look at it, she writes in her journal dates on each entry, where she camped in the hemlock woods above the ridge. Now, the Warden Service Report notes entries through August the 10th, and then the final entry is dated August the 18th. So between July 24th and July 30 of 2013, intensive ground and air searches by Maine wardens, local police, volunteers. That's when the ground teams, the trackers, the dogs, the helicopters, fixed-wing aircraft start at Poplar Ridge and move north. They spend 7 days, and then they suspend the search on July 30th. August the 4th, I misspoke. The Warden Service organizes a grid search with 9 dog teams over that last known area, and each of the canine teams covered approximately 8 to 9 miles. So they had 9 dog teams covering, say, 8 miles each, separate 8-mile areas, and they couldn't find her scent. And we've hinted about this throughout this case. This is quasi-textbook. We didn't know she had health problems, told right there at the end when it said that Georgia was supplying her with medication. So you got an elderly lady, has health problems, alone on the trail, 100 yards from where they searched, and they couldn't find her until 2 years later. We know that there's boulder fields, there's water sources, there's bad weather. I would like to know, and probably could have found it, but I was just at my wit's end. But I wonder if bad weather hampered the search when it first started. And then August the 6th is when she writes that poignant note about, when you find my body, please contact my husband and my daughter. August the 11th is when news outlets began to report that the ground search is being scaled back significantly. Then you got periodic searches. However, they're limited from August the 12th through the 18th. And then 18th is the last recorded entry in her journal. And then October 14th/15th is when her camp is discovered by the loggers on the Navy land near the actual trail. And this is where the mystery kind of seeps in of how they couldn't find her, because that spot had been searched multiple times. 3 dog teams had combed that area earlier that season, but they missed her. And we know she was malnourished and starving. She wouldn't have been just wandering around aimlessly. So, I mean, there is the mystery of how we don't know how they missed her. We don't know how all of that just perfect storm resulted in her being tucked up underneath that hemlock tree. You would think, and I kind of said this off air to Coach, you would think that she could have heard the air searches and the dogs and people talking on the trail, but we don't know. Like I said, the weather, it could have been raining when they were searching. The wind could have been blowing away from her. Well, it would have been blowing her from her scent towards the trail, and she couldn't have heard them talking. But yeah, I mean, it's still a head scratcher as to how they couldn't find her. And they'd been all over that area.
That is kind of the only thing we could say it's a mystery. I mean, but, and then again, like that same guy, the way he presents his videos is, this is the real story. This is not what you're going to find in the cases. This is,
he's like that bastard that says you got to watch this documentary and they're all made up.
Oh God, I hate that guy. He's so creative, though. He comes up with the most interesting documentaries I would watch in a heartbeat. Yes. And they're all fake. And I'm like, dude, like, go do something more productive. You're clearly a good writer. Write a movie about these documentaries.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's like, this is 4 strangers that have come forward and told these stories, and this is not the real story. But you ruined all credibility when you're going to talk about simple Google search can show you what happened to this person, like Terrence Woods Jr. Like you can't even get the damn state right.
Well, see, I'm wondering, did he mess it up because wasn't Terrence Woods Jr. from Georgia?
I think so. But
yeah, I'm not giving him a pass. You can't mess up that he went missing in Georgia and went missing in Idaho. Like I told Coach, we're close in the alphabet, G-H-I-J, but we ain't.
Well, yeah, but still, he said he was hiking with friends. He wasn't hiking with friends. He was working.
Yeah.
He was at work. I mean, who the hell hadn't want to run away from work? But if I'm working in Idaho and I take off running and I'm gone, you just check the local bars. That's all you got to do.
Or the nearest porta potty.
Probably the first bar, like the first one you come to. Oh, he's right there.
He's right there. We found him.
He's eating free peanuts. Like, how'd y'all find me? It's like, well, your Facebook status said you ran away from work and you're at the first bar you could find. It wasn't that hard, brother.
Oh, me. Well, boys and girls, you will be.
But it is still a sad story, and still, her story's worth telling. It's just, we might not have been the forum for it. But that's okay. We live and we learn, and, we decided to go ahead and put out an episode this week instead of going back to the drawing board. And
yeah, because last night I finished up and I was like, hey, dude, this is no mystery. And he was like, we could do something different. I'm like, the hell we can. I got 13 pages of notes.
Yeah, that's exactly how that went down. The hell we can.
We just did it off the cuff.
Well, my question is how'd you get through 13 pages of notes without it dawning on you that this might not be a mystery?
Well, I started by telling her story, trying to make everybody, because this is the way in my little pea brain that it worked, that I was going to tell this captivating story about how she hiked the Appalachian Trail, and then tragedy struck, and then we would get into the mystery, and then I just kept researching, and I'm like, there's no mystery.
Hey, listen,
But anyway,
we are just two idiots in a pretend basement in Georgia.
That's right.
It's not.
Oh, the good old days, walking down them creaky ass steps and cracking cold ones.
That was nice. I'll be honest with you. I do miss those days, but maybe someday we'll both get a basement again.
Maybe someday you'll win the lottery and we can just do this full time.
I'm not allowed to say that anymore. I can't. I got a wife that's very goal-oriented, and she's going to make a man out of me. And she said, we can't be hoping for no lottery. You're going to get off your fat ass and do some work. And I'm like, but I want to win a lottery.
That's right. Me too. I want the easy route.
Yeah. Why do I got to work for things? I want stuff handed to me.
Amen. I've worked long enough. I'm tired, Grandpa.
Yeah, that's too damn bad.
So
that's exactly how it will go down. At some point, I will say, I'm tired of this, Grandpa. And she will scream, that's too damn bad.
So recommendations, and I can't think of it. It's James Fox did the Virginia UFO incident, but then he followed that up with another documentary after Tic Tac video and the congressional hearings, and Grush came forward, and it's like 2.5 hours. I made it an hour in, and he kind of retells the Virginia case about 30 minutes into it, but he's got some stuff that he didn't release in the original documentary. How about I do this? James Fox. Let's see. That is not him. That is not him. Cast. Isn't his name James Fox? Or am I messing it up?
Only Fox I know is Jamie Foxx, buddy.
No, he's a documentarian, you ignorant wretch.
I heard what you said. Don't mean just because you say it louder don't mean I'm going to know who the hell the sumbitch is.
People are probably screaming into their podcast apps right now. James Fox, documentarian. And it's going to be like, oh, you meant... Yeah, son of a gun. I knew he was. I know it. I knew it.
Okay. Good for you.
50 years of denial. No.
I'm going to mail you a cookie.
I better be a double doozy or I ain't eating it.
We still got a place up here that does double doozies.
We got a place down here that does it, and once a month my wife gets me one, but the caveat is I have to eat it when she's not here.
I don't think I can handle them anymore. If you don't know what a double doozy is, what will happen to your childhood? That's where they take a cookie and put a buttload of frosting on it and then smash it down into another cookie. And my God.
It's amazeballs.
They had to have a deal with Wilford Brimley or something because they were responsible for the diabetes epidemic in this country. Good God. I think he'd put me in a coma if I had one of them.
So I used to get a large cappuccino with sugar in my cappuccino and then go to Great American Cookie Company and get a sugar cookie double doozy.
That's my go-to. I would get the sugar cookie double doozy. I love sugar cookies, man.
Oh, I did too. And they were the best. And I had I worked in a mall in college, and I'd become friends with the managers, so they would phone down to where I was working and be like, hey, we're about to take the cookies out of the oven, and I'd just sprint down there to get them. So think about a hot sugar cookie with that icing in there, so it's a little bit of meltedness in it. My God, it was so good. And I think I've told this story once before, but...
You're killing me, Smalls.
we repeat ourselves on this lovely podcast. So my wife, when we were dating, thought it would be a good idea one day. She was like, hey, you seem tired. I got you a double doozy and a Coke. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I consumed it like I had never seen food before and slammed that Coke. And then within about 15 minutes, I was like the hyper 6-year-old. And she finally looked at me and she said, I swear to God, if you don't quit talking and quit touching me, I'm going to break both your arms. But anyway, so my recommendation is the documentary. It's called Moment of Contact, New Revelations in Alien Encounters. So the first 30 minutes before he revisits the Virginia case is him going over a lot of the stuff that some of these people have seen in those skiff rooms, and basically they're still classified. I didn't realize there was a crash retrieval from the 30s. Like, I want to say it was like maybe 10 or 12 years before Roswell, and then allegedly Mussolini supposedly found the one, and he took his Italian scientists and they started back engineering it.
I ain't heard none of that.
I hadn't heard any of that. That one. Then there was a couple after Roswell that I had heard of. Coro. There was a couple other ones. Then there was another one that I never heard of, and then they get to Virginia, which I didn't realize that one was. I mean, it's not now, but it's 97, I think, is when that one happened. But it was well documented too. So if you watch the Virginia case, and I know I'm rambling, but if you watch the original Virginia case, I don't think they interviewed the virologist in Brazil. They finally get him. They released the footage of interviewing him, and he talks about how that one military policeman died after he picked up that alien. So it's been very good, and I'm still.
Alien.
Well, the Cliff Notes for the Virginia. The 3 girls see that little alien squatted against that wall, and they freak out and run home. Allegedly, a couple of hours later, the military had actually went to where those girls saw that, and they had locked down that whole block. And they had 2 military police circling looking for the alien. Supposedly, the fire department catches one who died. And then these 2 guys are driving down the road looking for stuff, and the little alien runs across, and so the guy jumps out of the passenger seat, runs over and grabs it. When he does, unbeknownst to him, he gets scratched, and he's dead 7 days later from an unknown bacterial infection, and they still do not know what that bacteria was.
Ooh, I see. I've not heard of any of this.
Yeah, I highly recommend it, man. I highly recommend the original Virginia one that he did. And then, let's see if I can find the name of that. And then, like I said, that latest one, which my mouse is now all jacked up. Is it The Phenomenon? Or Out of the Blue? It's either The Phenomenon or the Out of the Blue that talks about the Virginia case. And then, like I said, that last one, Moment of Contact, is what I am recommending. If you are a UFO buff, please do yourself a favor and do not look up Indonesian starvation. There's pictures, and you can't get that out of your head.
Well, here's what I'll say about that. And I know this because I read the book Into the Wild about Christopher McCandless. And, they made the movie about it. And it's one of my favorite movies, except for one part. That's for a story for another time. I hate that part. But anyway, he states, John Krakauer states that people that have been found just before starvation and brought back from the brink of death say that it's actually near the end, it's pretty peaceful. They stop feeling pain and they stop feeling hunger, and they say it's actually a sense of peace overcomes them. Whether or not that's true or how believable, I'm not going to test it out on myself. Absolutely not. But so who knows? But hopefully that's true for her.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope she just went to sleep one night or got tired during the day and laid down and it's like Coach said earlier, this is a horrible story, but, kind of like her husband said, maybe her determination of, at her age, tackling the Appalachian Trail will inspire people who have been considering tackling something new, to go ahead and do it. So, but anyway, you've got a lot of love on your recommendation from last time about the crazy guy behind the Burger King. Everybody loves that documentary.
Benjamin Kyle?
Yeah.
Really, people mentioned it, buddy. It's wild. It is wild. You still ain't watched it, I know, because you'd be agreeing with me.
Well, it's next after the UFO, dude. You got to give me some time. And it's supposed to rain this week, so I'll be all curled up by the next time we record. So, but anyway, all right. Do you have a recommendation for this week?
Well, I did, but I ain't recommending that sumbitch no more. Hey, I'm not even going to mention where I even synced him. But anyway, I don't really – this is like an anti-recommendation. Do what you want. Probably most of you probably already have. I don't want to give this girl any more damn publicity. But we did watch The Crash on Netflix.
Jeez, I've never wanted to absolutely reach through my TV and pimp slap somebody so hard in my entire life. Did you see where the daddy's not going back to his teaching job?
Good.
Amen.
I mean, I don't want him to be destitute and all that, but man, yeah, you don't need to be teaching people.
Mm-mm.
I don't wish harm on the man, but I just agree that he might not be the best choice for a teacher.
Yeah, great.
So I don't blame him for that. But dude, I saw a thing on the Ticker Talker today, and it showed 30 clips that she had posted, all in her car, all smoking weed, and all 30 of them she did not have her seatbelt on in any of them.
It's crazy, man.
But she has her seatbelt on when she crashes. I don't know. Do what you want. It's on Netflix. Look up. If you're going to watch that one, watch the other ones. You can look up what order to watch. There's 4 of them. There's I can't remember what the hell they're called. But we watched some on Hulu. There's one on Hulu's basically calls her a piece of shit the whole time, which I'm not saying they shouldn't have. But that crazy bitch talking about how she wants to be a life coach when she gets out of jail. Man, shut up.
I saw that.
So do what you want, but that's the only thing that I have watched true crime wise in the past week that it would be classified as a recommendation. I've recommended The Boys before, but
have you watched Monarch?
Have
you watched Monarch?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's good, dude. There's 2 seasons of it. If you like Godzilla and King Kong and that whole genre, it's good.
Well, I watched the first 3 seasons of The Boys, and then for whatever reason stopped watching, and I knew season 5 came out, and everybody was saying how it was one of the best endings to a series ever, so I picked it back up. Man, it's so good. It's really good.
Well, good.
Lots of political stuff in it.
Imagine that. Hey, did you see where gas prices finally came down? I saw it as cheap as $3.06 yesterday in Chattanooga.
What?
I saw gas as cheap as $3.06 in Chattanooga.
Good Lord. Well, Georgia ended the tax break on gas. The Governor Kemp took away the gas tax, so that was 33 1/3 cents that we should have been saving. But the gas company just kept charging whatever they were charging. And then it's everybody's freaking out, including myself. I texted you, said, make sure you fill up tonight because the gas tax going back into effect tomorrow. I got up the next day. Gas didn't go up a single cent.
Shit, it did at my house. It went back up to $4 a gallon, and then somebody started making phone calls, and it quickly dropped because their excuse for not lowering it when the gas tax went down was they had already paid the tax for the gas in the tanks. And so everybody's like, well, by God, when the gas tax expires, you better not fucking jack it up. But they did. And so then it didn't last but about, I'd say, a day, and then it went back down. So we shall see, brother. We shall see.
It's just, I just think that this capitalistic society we're relying on is just going to crash and burn eventually, because you have to have consumers. And if you just overcharge for everything, it's ridiculous. I should not have to say I can't afford Taco Bell. Right. Those words should not come out of my mouth. That shouldn't, and I don't want to have to choose. Oh, well, we can't get the cheese dip at the Mexican restaurant because it's too much. We can't do this because it's too much. It's ridiculous. You can't afford to do anything.
Amen, brother. But anyway, we're not going to solve it.
You walk out of your house and it's like, please choose a payment method. Like, dude, I'm on the porch.
I'm just trying to get some air. But anyway, all right, Coach, you got anything else?
No, I'm just going to be old man shake stick at the sky because I can't change none of this bullshit. But
you boys and girls be good, and deuces.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.